Well, Clemson is off this week for, everyone on my Clemson channel and for everyone else in college football. Well, maybe your team is playing today. I'll tell you this, the game that I'm really looking forward to watching today actually kicks off in the next 30 minutes. You have Indiana, one of the best stories in college football, going up against one of the best midseason stories in all of college football and one of the most interesting I've seen in quite a while. UCLA 3-0 after firing Deshaun Foster. Jerry Newhustle having to travel to Bloomington, try to rally his Bruins to continue winning. Right now, Indiana is 27.5-point favorite right before kickoff. But hey, right now I'm going to dive into those games in just a second. But I am simulcasting on both of my channels. I'm on my Clemson channel. Go Tigers! We're on a bye week this week, so yeah, we can relax. Maybe. And also on my other channel, another college football podcast where I talk about college football. So if you love college football, I hope you'll subscribe over there, another college football podcast. Also on the Clemson channel, I hope you'll subscribe as well. They're free. This is free. Hitting the thumbs up, that's free. And if you'll pass it along to your friends, your neighbors, all the guys at work that loves college football, you're pass it along on the forums and on Facebook. I really do appreciate it. So for the Clemson fans here, Clemson, I couldn't sleep last night. Well, earlier this morning. And I was thinking about Clemson football. And their first 4 games, they were, 1-3? Yeah, they were 1-3. Then they had a bye week. And then they were 2-1. Okay, 2-1, losing to SMU last week. And now we have the rest of the season ahead of us. Duke, Florida State, Louisville, Furman, and South Carolina. I was trying to get those in order right off the top of my head. So, I mean, transparently, I don't expect much to change. This looks, and for anyone who's like, be a little more positive, I think positive has left the building. I think looking at the glass half full, when there's like a raindrop in there, I think that's over for most of us. I think the benefit of the doubt that people were giving the team, the coaching staff, is pretty much done. I didn't say you're not pulling for your team, but if you can't prove it in 7 games, what magical voodoo is going to happen in the last 5 when the stretch is not that easy considering how poorly the team's played? I just don't see it. But at least Clemson is off this week. Who knows? But with that said, I mentioned that Indiana and UCLA kicks off here in about 30 minutes, and I'm 25 minutes. And that game's going to kick off on Fox. So if you want to catch that, Mendoza versus Nico. Mendoza's making an incredible name for himself, 1,755 yards, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This guy transferred out of Cal. And so I believe, as much as I really enjoy the story of UCLA, and I'm really enjoying what's going on at Indiana, I just believe Indiana's going to be way too much in this game. In fact, I previewed this game on another college football podcast, and I want to tell you, I got, for a small channel that just started a few months ago, I got a lot of views on it. A lot of Indiana fans are really excited, and that's a fun time, especially when your football team has been historically bad, and then a guy comes along who's just passionate about coaching football, a guy who knows what he's doing, a guy who knows how to coach a football team, whether they have a bunch of 5 stars or not, whether they have the top players out of the transfer portal or not. Kirk Cignetti is a real coach. Kirk Cignetti is one of those guys that you could give him a bunch of 1 and no star players and go, make them competitive. And he goes, okay. Right? While everybody else is begging for money from the donors. Begging for money from the donors. I don't know if I said that right or not. But anyway, and always prolonging the process. Oh, we're if we can just build this facility, we'll win. Or we can't compete with Texas and Ohio State with all the money they're paying their players and everything. And then Kirk Cignetti shows up, and I'm telling you, he's making a lot of people in college football look bad. Like, here's a lot of guys right now who's being paid a lot of money. They're at really good schools, and then there's him at a school that historically can't win, and he has them winning, and he has the fan base excited. I mean, this is funny. This is incredible. And good for Indiana. I hope UCLA is extremely competitive today, because I think that this could be massive for them. You need to understand, I know they're 3-4 overall. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten. Indiana's 4-0 in the Big Ten. And I guess where I'm going with this is, if, and I don't see it happening, no offense, Bruins, if UCLA won today, do you realize that they have a pretty doggone good record in the Big Ten? And they would join a multitude of teams with one loss. Right now, it's sitting atop the Big Ten is Indiana at 4-0 in the conference, 7-0 overall. Ohio State 4-0 in the conference, 7-0 overall. And then after this, I'm going to tell you, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. 7 teams, folks. 7 teams with a loss. 7 teams with a loss. 1 loss in conference. And I'm telling you, that's setting up everything to be, I mean, nuts. I mean, that would be absolutely nuts. For all these teams to end up with only 1 loss. It's absolutely crazy. Folks, I normally don't do this, but my son just called me, and I'm going to make sure he's okay while I'm live here. I just texted him to make sure he's okay. I think he's out and about. But with that said, just wanted to make sure. But going back to UCLA, I mean, it's a real, I mean, if they win today, they would give Indiana 1 loss. And I mean, that's a ton of teams with 1 loss. Of those teams, Oregon, Northwestern, Southern Cal, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and of course UCLA today. I just see Indiana being too much. But that'll be a fun one to watch. And I run into people periodically, or people comment, I'm a Clemson fan. I really don't care about the rest of college football. Okay, I get that. I love Clemson, but I love college football. So in 20 minutes, when this game kicks off, UCLA and Indiana, I'm going to be watching. Why? Because I love college football. And I also tell you, Clemson fans who stays within the, I guess you would say, the nucleus of Clemson, you never really leave Clemson. You never watch anything other than Clemson. Again, to each their own. When you go watch other football teams, you'll realize how bad things are at Clemson. And I had someone who watches my channel all the time. They just disagree with me. I disagree with them, but it's civil. We normally agree. Who said, hey, I went and watched, I watched a bunch of college football, and I'm telling you, I haven't seen 25 teams better than Clemson. And I'm sitting there going, again, we'll just have to agree to disagree. But I mean, I can name out, UCLA is better than Clemson right now at 3-4. They're on a 3-game win streak. Indiana, Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Oklahoma, UVA, South Florida, Memphis, Alabama, Missouri, Vanderbilt, BYU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Texas, Mississippi State on a 3-game skid is still better than Clemson. Miami is better than Clemson. Texas A&M is better than Clemson. LSU's already proven they're better than Clemson, and they're not amazing. Louisville is better than Clemson. Tennessee's better than Clemson. And so I don't know what games maybe you didn't get to see, maybe you watched and you just, but I'm just telling you folks, you go and you watch other college football teams and you see what they're doing, and then you watch Clemson, that's why you have that lost look on the sideline. That's why when you look at the coaches, they look lost. That's why when you look at the players, they look like they're at a funeral. And that's why they don't know how to navigate this new college football. And I'm not talking about going to the transfer portal and portal it up. I'm talking about all of it. The game has changed a lot over the past few years. So anyway, going to get to a few more games here. Ole Miss and Oklahoma kick off 12 o'clock on ABC. Oklahoma's a 5.5-point favorite. All of these rumors, and I don't know how true they are, how they're not, how they, if they're true, if they're not, I don't know. But Lane Kiffin is being reported as the man that will take the job at Florida. And he would become the highest paid football coach in college football. Now, I don't know if you believe that, but I will tell you this. Sorry, my son is texting me. I'll tell you this. I wouldn't be shocked. And can you imagine Lane Kiffin at Florida? The new improved tenured Lane Kiffin. Oh, he was fired at Southern Cal. Southern Cal's been hot garbage for a while. A while. Considering who they are and the state they're in, that they could pull the talent in, and they've been this bad for a while. You know, I'd be getting concerned if I was Southern Cal. But this guy, he spent time with Nick Saban. Nick Saban probably challenged him as a human being. And it's changed him. Or at least changed some of his approach, is what I'm trying to say. Can you imagine him at Florida? It's nuts. Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, 5.5-point favorite. This is in Norman, and I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that Oklahoma is going to get the job done today. It just comes down to which defense can get the stop, and I believe Oklahoma's can. John Mateer needs to play solid. He doesn't have to play amazing. Move the ball, get touchdowns, get field goals. I know that's like, duh. I'm just saying, don't drive the ball and not at least get 3 points. Right? Don't do that. But drive down the field, get more touchdowns than field goals, but at least field goals. You win this ball game. I think Oklahoma's defense is hitting on something right now. Our old former offensive coordinator at Virginia, Tony Elliott, 6-1, 3-0 in the ACC. Traveling to North Carolina, they're a 10.5-point favorite. This game's kind of interesting for me because North Carolina's just, I've never seen North Carolina be this bad, ever. And so here they are, 2-4, and they're only a 10.5-point underdog. And you're like, well, that's 10.5 points, Brian. I was figuring like 3 touchdowns. The key for Virginia right now is focus. We are at that point of the season where now that's something that I'm saying a lot. And if you watch my other channel, you're going to hear that a lot. You're like, Brian, I'm starting to hear a theme here. It's low-hanging fruit, but it's true. Sometimes low-hanging fruit is not true. It's like, yeah, And like everybody talking about Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney is go to NIL transfer portal. That's what this guy over here, and I'm basically a parakeet, so I'm going to say what he says and what she says. And it's like Polly wants a cracker, go to the transfer portal. No one wants to talk about coaching. No one wants to talk about that coaching staff that he has. Is not responsible for those 6 consecutive playoffs and the 2 national championships. And there lies the problem, my friend. There lies the problem. With that said, we are now at a place where focus is a big test of a team's character. Georgia Tech could easily end up playing Georgia in Atlanta the weekend of Thanksgiving as an undefeated football team. But how many times have they almost dropped the ball since beating Clemson? Go look. When you're playing against teams that are not that impressive, that's when you lose. Serious. When you go in and you play a team that is, there's nothing really to write home about. Game days, not sitting around talking about it. They make a mention of it, but they move past that game. That's an upset waiting to happen. And for today, Virginia at North Carolina, got to pay attention. This game will count towards the win/loss column, and you have to pay attention if you want to legitimately turn things around. We will see. I see Virginia winning that ball game. Skip down to here's a game a lot of people are overlooking. It's a group of 5 game in the American Conference. Number 18, South Florida, 6-1, 3-0 in the conference. Traveling to Memphis, 6-1, 2-1 in the American Conference. They lost their first game last week against UAB. UAB with an interim coach. Like the week before, they had fired Trent Dilfer, former Super Bowl winning quarterback. He was the head coach that fired him. And Memphis lost to UAB. It's crazy. It's nuts. Remember focus? Talked about that just 45 seconds ago. Memphis today has a chance to get back on track. Florida, on the other hand, South Florida, they have one loss already. It's not in the conference, but the key here is to win and win out. They're a 3.5-point favorite in Memphis. This is a big game. You need to pay attention to it. Don't get caught thinking about another game. And I don't think either one of these teams will overlook one another in this one. I think, if anything, Golish knows that Memphis is going to be bringing it. So we will definitely see. That is at 12 o'clock on ESPN. Let's check that out. Alabama travels to Columbia, South Carolina to play the feathered foe of the Gamecocks. Yeah. They're 3-4, 1-4 in the SEC, playing against an Alabama team who is absolutely red hot. 6-1, 6-game winning streak since losing to Florida State. Now we're all sitting here scratching our heads asking, how did that happen? 4-0 in the SEC. And looking like a team who could definitely win the national title if they continue playing the way they're playing. And look no farther than Ty Simpson, a guy who stayed at the program. He could have transferred out. And I don't blame all guys for transferring out, but it's a different story it's a different situation per player. Some players need to stay where they're at and grow. Some players need to transfer. And again, trying to weigh that out is tough. And right now we really don't have the data to really make a definitive decision. It would become extremely granular, and after a while, our head would hurt. But Ty Simpson has stuck around, and he is leading this team at a high level. Alabama's an 11.5-point favorite going into Williams-Brice Stadium. South Carolina just fired their offensive line coach, 1-4 in the SEC. And Gamecocks, I'm going to tell you, I told you so. Not this bad. But I did tell you that what you had last year was gone for 2 reasons. You lost Dowell Loggins. And some of you Gamecock fans who actually follow me, One of you said, yeah, you told us that and you were right. So it's not all Gamecock fans are bad or this, that, and the other. There were other Gamecock fans. They pulled a Georgia on me. When I told Georgia fans, hey, Todd Monken was the magic. Todd Monken was the magic for y'all's offense. And I know Bobo, he's not a terrible offensive coordinator, but I'm telling you, he is not Todd Monken. And I'm telling you right now, Sick'em dogs came after me and they're growling and, you know, they're trash talking their best and thumping their chest and, you know, whatever. And yeah, Georgia's winning. But there's this unease that people, they have it in Georgia. I've seen some of the comments on my board. They're not thrilled with the coaching staff. I'm not talking about Kirby. Remember, Kirby's one person. Just like Clemson fans is having to figure out that Dabo's one person. There's a whole operation up under him. And so, though you still have the national championship winning coach there, up under him is a bunch of guys. And it's always been that way. You have to have a coaching staff. But a lot of people forget that when you start losing integral parts of a staff, you can still have the head man and still lose. And Clemson fans are having to figure this out. A lot of them still kicking and screaming. Some of them, they're not even Clemson fans. They're Dabo fans. And listen, I appreciate what Coach Swinney has done. I'm not trash talking. Don't want him fired. Someone sent me a message the other day and said, since you want Dabo fired, who do you want to be the head coach? And I was like, I didn't call for him to be fired. I called for him to clean house, basically, and go hire Clemson level coaches. Well, what was Clemson level coaches? Now this is where we're at. And so a lot of people in Clemson, not a lot, but some people in Clemson are still very sensitive about that. With that said, I made this comment to South Carolina, and I also told them that you're losing the vast majority of your defense. And yeah, you're 3-4. Yeah, Clemson's awful, terrible, and everything. That doesn't change what's happening in Columbia. You lost a brilliant offensive coordinator and more than half of your defense. Bama's going to put a butt whipping on them. And if Lenore Sellers, they keep running him as much as they are, or he's having to run for his life because the offensive line can't block for him, this guy's going to end up with ground beef for a knee. And South Carolina player or not, he's an individual. I don't want that for him. I mean, he literally is going to end up with, titanium knees or something. And he won't be able to play football anymore. But 3:30 today, probably another incredible game that is like, you're like, who versus who? Missouri, 6-1, 2-1 in the SEC. Vanderbilt, number 10, 6-1 and 2-1 in the SEC. They're going to play today, 3:30 on ESPN. Vandy is a 2.5-point favorite. Missouri's defense is pretty doggone solid. And so this one, I actually previewed it this week. And as I dove into the numbers, my gut wants to say Missouri, but I said at the same time, there's a lot of friction there. I'm going to go with the home team, Vanderbilt. But this is one of those games where Vanderbilt can lose. And if they're not careful, you're going to be sitting there going, what just happened? Like, what just happened? Well, I can tell you what just happened. You just came off an emotional win against LSU, a team you hadn't beat in eons. Which that whole story there is panning out. By the way, they're going to lose more ball games. They may have a coach opening very, very soon to join a massive list of teams that are firing their coach. And I'm looking at Missouri and Vanderbilt. I see this as being one of those games that if I were going to choose to watch only a few games today, this would be one of them. Indiana and UCLA kicking off here in just a few minutes. That would be a game that I would check out, and I would definitely watch this one. Of course, tonight 7:30 you have A&M at LSU, and that's going to be an interesting one. That's going to be an interesting one. But just to finish this one out, I see Vanderbilt winning this game, but honestly, this is splitting hairs. Either one of these teams could win this game, and I think that a lot of people, some people may get where I'm going with this. Other people may overlook it. Yeah, when a big team that you haven't beaten quite a while, like LSU comes to town, Alabama, they come to town, that's a massive game. You can get worked up for that. You can win that game. It's these games right here. Missouri's not a bad football team. They're number 15 and only have one loss. So don't take anything from that. But like when you think of Alabama's coming to town or LSU's coming to town versus Missouri's coming to town. No offense, Missouri fans. We know the more exciting game, the more big name, the you can see it on a marquee and it sparks excitement and, oh, I'm clearing my schedule, or I'll pay the outrageous ticket price to go see this game. This is not one of them. But to me, this game is one of those games that for either team, if they win, it's a big deal. You want to know how big this game is? The lowest ticket that you can get, according to ESPN right here, of course, it's not searching across all sites, but $199. That lets you know how big this game is. I only got a couple of more minutes. I want to go down and watch football. I don't want to keep you from it as well. 7:30 tonight, I mentioned at ABC. A&M at LSU. A&M's a 2.5-point favorite. And I'm going to tell you the key to this ball game. If A&M can get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier, they win this ball game. Garrett Nussmeier, every time he gets touched, he gets up limping. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making fun of the guy. I'm just saying every time he gets touched. When Clemson played LSU in the very first game of the year, they couldn't get to him. They were getting the ball out of his hands pretty doggone quick. And TJ Parker went in, hit him late. It was a late hit. I don't know if it was on purpose. I wouldn't have been shocked. It was like, hey, you may be getting the ball out of your hands, but I'm going to hit you one good time, whether it's a penalty or not. And he got up limping. He got up messed up. Last week, it happened against Vanderbilt. I seen it happen, I want to say, against Ole Miss. Every time the guy gets hit, South Carolina hit him. He gets up, and it's not like, oh, I'm kind of, you don't want to get hit. It's like he's this close to being out of the game. If A&M hits him a couple of good times, they win just because of that. A&M's also hitting on something. They're only a 2.5-point favorite going into this game, but I see Mike Elko pulling this game out. That would be loss number 3 for LSU, folks. Yeah. Just honorable mention, Boston College, who is not a good football team, 0-4 in the ACC, 1-6 overall, travels to number 19 Louisville, 5-1, 2-1 in the ACC. That game's going to kick off at 7:30 tonight on the ACC network. Louisville is a 26.5-point favorite. I see them taking care of business. I mean, this team has a lot of good things going for it, and the key for them, again, focus, because you're playing Boston College, at Virginia Tech, California, Clemson, SMU, Kentucky. These games are very winnable for Louisville, but they're going to have to stay focused, and Miller Moss is going to have to play really, really solid. All right, folks. Well, I am going to let you go. Maybe I'll do another video. Maybe I won't do another video today. My wife and I are playing a memorial for a friend of ours who their son passed away. So it's an honor to do that and honor his life and honor our friendship with them. So I will be tied up as the day goes on. So anyway, thank y'all so much for joining me. If you like what I'm doing, I hope you'll subscribe because it's free. Hit the thumbs up. That's free. And pass it along to your friends and neighbors, Facebook, forums, whatever. that's free. I do appreciate that. Check out my other channel, which I'm simulcasting right now on it, another college football podcast, because you can't have too many college football podcasts, can you? We'll find out. Go subscribe.